I'm really excited about today's video because I'm going to be teaching you all about dark femininity or the dark goddess or the shadow goddess. And I am so excited about this topic because it's the foundation of everything that I teach. It is the foundation of how I live my life and how I exist. Everything that I know and understand about this world comes through the lens of this framework and this understanding. And so one of the first misconceptions that I want to clear up before I start diving into who the dark feminine is who the dark feminine is not. And the dark feminine is not a performance or an aesthetic. And that's something that we see a lot in spiritual spaces where you'll see women in dark clothes and with smoky eyes and like a sultry stare and leaning into the physicality or the performative aspect of it is something that can be really helpful, especially if you're in the beginning stages of your journey. But that's not what dark femininity is. You have women who can show up or give that performance, that aesthetic performance, but do not actually embody dark femininity at all. The same way you can see people in very beautiful, light, flowy dresses and long hair and talking about softness, but not embodying femininity whatsoever. So I want to just kind of clear that up right off the gate is that this is not about an aesthetic. This is certainly not about a performance. This is about embodiment. And when I talk about the dark feminine or the dark goddess, what I'm talking about, or really who I'm talking about from a spiritual, from a metaphysical lens, is the mother. This is the creator. This is the dark feminine represents the womb consciousness, the void. It's basically all of the dark matter, that consciousness, all possibility, all ideas, everything that has ever existed, will ever exist, originates from. It is the womb of creation. That is what the dark feminine is, or who the dark feminine is. And so the dark feminine, and being connected to this energy and recognizing this as the primordial energy, is all about diving into the void, diving into the unknown, diving into the shadows. And this is where a lot of people are disconnected from this essence because most people are not willing, most people are not willing to recognize the shadow. They're not willing to dive into the depths, dive into the darkness of themselves, of their psyche, of who it is that they're showing up in the world as, and looking honestly at the truth hidden in those dark recesses of their mind and of their being. And so the dark feminine, the dark mother, is all about shining a light and presenting you with everything that is unseen, presenting you with what is hidden, what is unwitnessed, and what is unrecognized in yourself as an individual, but also in the collective, in society, in the world. And looking upon that with bravery and with purpose and with reverence and respect at the shadow, so that you can be grounded in truth. Because when you deny or disconnect or disassociate from these parts of yourself that exist within the shadow, you cannot be in truth, because you are essentially lying to yourself about the totality of who you are and how you are meant to show up in this world, especially as a woman. So one of the first pillars or rules or cores of being connected to the divine feminine, or the dark feminine frequency, or the dark goddess frequency, is to honor the shadow. It's about the shadow work. It's the excavation and the deconstruction of everything that you are not willing to see about yourself, because it is so painful to witness these aspects of yourself. And so this is why in my work, like so much of my work is about shadow work. It's about not just going inward to yourself, but deconstructing the shadows of patriarchy, deconstructing the shadows of all of the global systems that create distortion or inversion in society. And so honoring the shadow is about being truthful about who you are and how it is that you're showing up in the world. So for instance, my class, Selfish Bitch, that I teach, it's the reason why I call it Selfish Bitch is because so many women are afraid of this shadow aspect of themselves. They are afraid of the selfish part of themselves. They are afraid of the bitch within them. They're afraid of these parts of their identity that are so hidden, so suppressed, so disconnected from the way that they show up in the world, that women are not allowing themselves to be fully fleshed out, fully autonomous human beings. They are disconnected from the part of themselves that is scary to them or instills fear in them because of the way that they've been conditioned by society. And so when I talk about honoring the shadow, what I'm talking about is honoring the part of yourself that you have tucked away or that you have hidden because you were taught that this part of yourself is negative or this part of yourself is bad. Or if you honor this part of yourself or embody this part of yourself, you're no longer a good girl. You're no longer someone who is worthy of love. You're no longer someone who is worthy of respect or community, or people see you as mean or not nice, which for so many women, not being nice or not being considered nice is the absolute worst thing. To take it a step further, honoring the shadow is also about being honest about the way that you're treating yourself and the way that you're showing up in the world. It's recognizing and being truthful about the fact that you are self-abandoning yourself and being a people pleaser or overgiving or giving your body to unworthy men or giving your resources to people who do not value who you are and what it is that you have to offer the world. It's about sitting back and really taking stock and inventory of yourself and the, distorted, toxic behaviors that you're expressing that are not only causing yourself harm, but are causing harm to other people in your life. I have a previous video that I did where I talk about people pleasing as a form of manipulation. And that whenever I talk about people pleasing as a form of manipulation, it always really resonates with women because they recognize this part of themselves. They recognize, even though it's painful, they recognize through what it is that I'm sharing that by me not being honest about who I am, by me not being honest about my boundaries and my limitations and overextending myself, I'm actually manipulating the people in my life into liking me, even though it's not honest and even though what they're liking isn't actually who I am. And it's also very challenging for some people to hear this characterization of people pleasing because to them, manipulation has a negative connotation. But this is the beauty of shadow work. This is the healing ointment and the healing salve of this shadow work is understanding that when you recognize that you are operating from a distorted place, maybe you are doing things that are manipulative, it's not an indictment on who you are as a person. It doesn't mean that you are not good or that you are unworthy of goodness or unworthy of all of the beautiful things that life has to offer you. It's to show you where you are holding yourself back from being in your fullest expression. And so honoring the shadow is about being a whole human being. It's about being honest about the fact that sometimes we don't get it right, or we didn't know better in those moments, or that we're doing things that are harmful to ourselves or harmful to other people because that's what we were taught and we didn't know any better at that time. But now that I do know better, because I am willing to look at the shadow within myself, I'm willing to look at this part of myself that I've been afraid to see because of my judgments around what that means about me as a person, I can actually elevate into my next higher, the next higher version of who I am designed to be. So there is no embodying the dark feminine energy or embodying the dark goddess energy or frequency if you do not take that very first step to actually honor the shadow of who you are and recognize that honoring the shadow is what allows you to fully exist as an autonomous, well-rounded, fleshed out, complete human being. The next pillar that is a direct extension from honoring the shadow is having clean, ruthless boundaries. The dark feminine is ferocious in protecting her peace. She is ferocious in protecting her temple and her creations and every single thing that she brings into this world. And the way that she does that is through the structure of her boundaries, and not just the structure of her boundaries, but the enforcement of her boundaries. Because you can talk about your boundaries all you want. You can say, well, this is my boundary, this is my boundary, this is my boundary. But if you don't actually enforce your boundaries, if you don't, if you don't dish out consequences for the violation of your boundaries, you don't actually have boundaries, you're just talking. And so having those clean and ruthless boundaries you're able to establish those by going back to honoring your shadow and recognizing all of the ways in which you are dishonoring yourself. Recognizing all of the ways in which you are failing yourself, the way in which you are letting yourself down by not being clear around the parameters that are designed to protect you, that are meant to protect you. And so those clean and ruthless boundaries look like, and these are just examples based off of, what I see in the collective of women and what I've done in the work that I've done with clients. But, those boundaries look like, not engaging in certain types of conversations. Maybe you don't want to talk about politics, or maybe you have boundaries around, how long you're going to stay on the phone with certain family members who are draining your time, or boundaries around not loaning money, or boundaries around, how much time you're giving to assist people with some of the things that they're coming to you for help with. Maybe somebody, needs help reorganizing their house, and you're happy to help them, but you have a very limited or finite amount of energy that you're willing to expend. And so you let people know, I can come over and I can help you, but I can only help you with your bedroom closet, and I have 1 hour to give you. And so just being super clear and clean about your boundaries and holding firm to those boundaries is such an important part of being in the dark feminine energy, because the dark feminine is all about the clarity of her vision. It's all about understanding that you came into this world with a very specific purpose and a soul mission that can only come from you. But if you are spreading yourself too thin, if you are overgiving, or if you're letting people who do not honor and who do not respect you into your space, into your field, to extract from you and to distract you from what your soul mission is, then you are not only doing yourself a disservice in terms of your soul mission, but you are also doing a disservice to all of the people who need you to be grounded in your soul mission. And this is why so many of you feel like you're not getting the advancement in your career, or your business isn't taking off, or things just aren't working out right for you, because you don't have those clean and ruthless boundaries that are designed to keep you on track. And so if you are struggling with boundaries, if you are struggling with even knowing what boundaries are or how to enforce them, just keep listening, because I have so much more to share with you. But there is no dark feminine embodiment. There is no being in the dark feminine frequency. There is no being in that ferocious, ruthless energy without those clean, ruthless boundaries. The next piece is self-trust. Self-trust, because the self-trust comes from not needing to externalize validation. It comes from not needing any explanation for the things that you're doing. And it comes from not needing approval outside of yourself. And what a lot of women do, unfortunately, is they outsource all of these things. And by outsourcing all of these things and looking to people outside of them for validation and approval and all of these other aspects, you are diluting your own intuitive wisdom. You're diluting your own intuition. You are not connected to yourself. One of the things that I teach my clients that work with me one-on-one is how to connect to their body's wisdom. And I do this in my workshops and classes too, but it's much more in depth with my one-on-one clients. Most women are disconnected from their bodies. They're disconnected from their intuitive wisdom. They're disconnected from that voice and that compass within them that is constantly guiding them on the path that they are designed to be on. And when you outsource, or when you depend on other people's perception of you, when you depend on other people's ideas of you, or you are afraid of doing something because of a fear of being misunderstood, you won't say the thing that needs to be said. You won't take the action that needs to be taken because you're concerned about how you will be perceived by other people through that action that you take. You are destroying your self-trust. You're destroying your connection to yourself. That's where your confidence comes from. That's where your self-esteem comes from. This is where your power and your desire and your drive to make things happen and to create things for yourself comes from this place. It's rooted in self-trust. And so without self-trust, and with the habit and the conditioning around outsourcing your intuition or what's right for you, or which direction you're going in, to other people, when you outsource that to other people, it completely erodes your sense of self-trust, and you don't know how to make sovereign decisions. You are always asking people for advice for things. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with asking people for advice. There's nothing wrong with, working with a coach or a guide, or talking to trusted friends, or seeing what other people's perspectives are to help you expand your lens on certain situations. But if you don't know how to make decisions without going outside of yourself, or if you don't feel comfortable or confident going inward to get the answers first, and you constantly need that external feedback for what's correct for you, then you are going to struggle, because you're not going to be able to develop that self-trust. And you develop that self-trust by building the muscle of only listening to yourself first, and getting the feedback from the universe. And when I say feedback, I don't mean people telling you. What I mean is the consequences of your actions, the consequences of the things that you do, which will help inform what the next step is or what the next choice is. But it has to start from inside first, and not constantly looking outside of yourself for that wisdom. The wisdom that you have is internal. It exists in your body. You are the authority for your life. And if you don't understand that you are the authority of your life, then you're not going to be able to embody dark feminine wisdom. And then the last piece that I'm going to share for this video is, as a core for embodying dark feminine energy, is eros. Eros and sensuality. And when I say eros, I mean of the erotic. And this isn't necessarily sexual. It can be, but that's not really what it is. And this is also something that I teach in Selfish Bitch and my upcoming initiation. Eros, sensuality, is all about being present in your body. It's about tapping into your supply of passion and aliveness and feeling so lit up within yourself. I want to read a message that I got from a woman a couple of days ago. I hope I can find it. Oh, it was such a beautiful message. What's today? Tuesday? I can't see. I have so many DMs. But anyway, I can't find it. I should have pulled that up before, but I how could I have done that? I didn't know I was going to talk about this. But what she was essentially saying in the message was that she's been celibate for a really long time, and she saw a man. She was just out and about, and she saw a man that she was very attracted to, and she hadn't been attracted to someone like that in a really, really long time. And what it revealed for her was that she does not feel that own aliveness within herself. And this is the woman she messaged me about joining the initiation. She doesn't feel that aliveness within herself. And she was lamenting the fact that this aliveness was activated by her seeing somebody outside of herself, her attraction to a man. But how she wanted to know, how do I access that aliveness within myself? And that's what eros is all about. That's what sensuality is all about. It's being in your body, being connected to the ignition, and having control over the ignition of the fire within that lights you up, that turns you on, that makes you feel like anything is possible. And there's so many ways that you can, I have some notes here on my computer. Give me a second. There's a couple of ways that you can connect to that. And one of the things that I teach is slowing down, slowing down and taking your time. We rush through so many things. Like even me talking in this video, I've been kind of like, sometimes I have to remind myself to just pause, slow down, take a deep breath, and know that everything is in divine timing. And treating the mundane like it is, what's the word? Romantic. Romanticizing the mundane, romanticizing, the parts of your day and the the habits that you have that you're doing by muscle memory, they're by rote. And one of the examples that I love to give about coming into sensuality and eros and romanticizing the mundane is your morning coffee or tea ritual of just slowing down and taking a moment to just smell the herbs or smell the coffee grounds as you are preparing to brew a fresh cup that's going to just be that first start to your day. Taking notice of the smells and the sights and the sensations, the textures when you are pouring the hot liquid into the cup and seeing the steam rising from the liquid, and maybe putting your face close to the cup and letting that steam just sort of wash over your face, and then taking a deep inhale of how delicious that coffee smells, or how delicious your herbal tea smells, and the sweetness of the honey that you use to sweeten your tea, or the sweetness of your creamer, or whatever it is that's a part of this ritual. You guys are picking up what I'm putting down when I talk about just slowing down and taking your time with those little daily actions that bring you into a state of presence. Because it's not so much about going slow for slow's sake. It's about slowing down so that you can be present. Because presence is where truth lives. Presence is you can hear the voice of your inner wisdom. The presence is where you are clear when your boundary is being violated, or when you are able to recognize the shadow that you have been hiding from or suppressing or pushing down. Being present and being in your body allows you to see the truth of exactly what is happening moment to moment to moment. And this is what helps you cultivate that fire within that turns you on and makes you feel alive, and makes you feel connected to yourself, and makes you feel connected to the divine. It's, giving yourself the chance to be alone without distraction, having a meditation practice, having a period of your day where you're not on your phone and you're not scrolling and constantly consuming things, touching yourself, touching your body with gentleness and reverence and love for everything that your body has carried you through. Maybe you have been in a stressful state recently, and you maybe have put on a little bit of weight because you've been so stressed out. It's touching your body, touching your belly, and thanking your belly for creating this extra layer of fat and tissue that is designed to protect you from the things that are stressing you out, and loving your body for having all of these fail-safes and mechanisms to protect you and to keep you safe. This is what I mean when I talk about eros and sensuality. And I'll have to do, and I have a video. I just realized I've been doing videos every day, so sometimes I forget what I've talked about. But I have a video where I talk about sensuality, especially if you're in a period of celibacy. So look for that video, or maybe I'll link it up here if I'm able to do that. But I have a video that goes deeper into sensuality. But these are, some of the practices that can bring you into that eros, bring you into that sensual part of your being, so that you feel present, so that you feel what's happening for you in that moment, versus being disassociated and focusing on all of the things outside of your control, all of the things that happened in the past, all of the things that you're afraid of in the future, and just being present with what's here and what's now. So I'm going to end it here, but I've given you four pillars of dark feminine energy, or the dark feminine frequency, the dark goddess energy, that will help you embody this energy, help you embody this frequency, so that you can not only be in the full truth of who you are, but you can be protected through your boundaries and through your standards, and not lying to yourself about the way that you're showing up in the world, because you honor your shadow. And so if this video ignited something in you, if it touched you, if it made you feel activated, it made you feel like, okay, I want to go deeper, I want to know more, this is everything that my Selfish Bitch Initiation is all about. My Selfish Bitch Initiation is about embodying the dark feminine energy. It's about embodying this dark feminine frequency energy, honoring the dark goddess, recognizing the shadow of who you are and how you're showing up in the world, the things about yourself that you're hiding from, why you are the good girl, why you are the people pleaser, why you are the overgiver, why being obedient to others is more important than your own dreams, why, you know, the perceptions of other people are more important than your own self-trust and your own self-perception. We deconstruct all of these things, and then I give you the tools, not just giving you transmissions and knowledge, but giving you practical advice, embodiment practices that you can take into your everyday life, so that you're not showing up in that good girl frequency that holds you back from being in the sovereign woman frequency, which is the reward, that is the archetype, that is the natural, beautiful consequence of honoring dark feminine energy, the dark feminine frequency. And so in the Selfish Bitch Initiation, which begins next week, I think it's a week from tomorrow, on December 7th, we're going into our 21-day initiation period, where I take you through the journey of the good girl into the dark feminine selfish bitch. Just like I said at the beginning, the selfish bitch is part of the dark feminine. This is the shadow that so many of you are afraid of. You're afraid of this part of yourself because of what it might mean in your life to embody this frequency. What will have to shift? What will have to change? What actions will you have to show up in order for you to honor this part of yourself? But also the possibilities. Because remember, I said the dark feminine represents the void of creation. It represents the primordial essence. It is the origin for all possibility. It is the origin of everything that has existed and ever will exist, and everything that is currently existing right now. So from that place, what is possible for you? These are some of the questions that I want you to contemplate as you're thinking about this. And so if if this video really landed for you, and my Selfish Bitch Initiation sounds like exactly the place that you need to be, we're still enrolling. We have 8 days before we begin, and it's still an early bird pricing. The price is going to go up one more time. It went up last week, and it's going to go up one more time before we begin on the 7th. And I'm not telling anybody when that price is going up. So if you want to get in, you can get in now at the early bird price. And with this current early bird price, you're also going to get free access to my Selfish Bitch Masterclass, which is the perfect primer for this 21-day initiation that we're going into. So let me know in the comments how this landed for you, if this shifted your understanding and your perspective of who the dark feminine is and how you can embody this. Let me know if you have any questions. And as always, I'm so grateful for you being here. Thank you for all of your engagement, for liking, for commenting, and for subscribing. Tell me what you want to see on the next video, and I will see you tomorrow.